I am joined here on Crypto World with Emily Yang, also known as Pplpleasr, and she is one of the biggest stars in the NFT world. Emily, thank you so much for joining me here in Denver. How is it going?
Thanks very much for having me on. I literally just landed in Denver like 30 minutes ago, just got situated to the hotel. But I mean, it seems like there's so many people here. From what I'm hearing, it's about like 2 or 3 times as many people as past ETHDenver conferences. So I'm super excited.
Have you been to other ETHDenver events in past years?
No, this is my first ETHDenver.
Me too. So, okay, you wrote an article on how crypto changed your life. Let's start there. Tell me about the piece. Tell me about how crypto changed your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just basically in 2020, before that, I mean, I have loved art ever since I was young. I started drawing as soon as I can remember, but when I graduated college, I was working in visual effects and featuring animation. And then in 2020, because of the pandemic, I was unemployed. And then my relationship with crypto was that in 2017, I had invested in it just because I read about it and I really believed in the technology. But then in 2020, when I was casually browsing crypto Twitter, I realized that, there might be an opportunity here for me to sort of marry my skill set with the industry. And then so I started making these little animations that would sort of, represent DeFi protocols and help like promote them and, just sort of be storytelling in the space. And then, yeah, I think through word of mouth, I grew a little community there of people who are crypto enthusiasts. And then obviously in the beginning of 2021, when NFTs were basically having this explosion of popularity, I also auctioned off, my first auction ever. And then that NFT ended up selling for over $500,000, which I donated all of it to charity. But, a DAO was formed around to sort of like purchase it. And then this same DAO called Pleasr DAO had kind of inspired, the whole DAO movement essentially. And, this concept of like people coming together, and community and crowdfunding and things like that. And so, yeah, ever since, I've just been on a whirlwind of participating and always sort of helping spread crypto to like a wider audience. So, I did the cover of Fortune magazine, and it was a special issue. And yeah, basically it just has turned into what was an unemployed like side thing has now turned into my full-time job, I guess.
Yeah, because originally you were going to work for Apple, right? And then you went down this crypto path instead.
Yeah, I was supposed to go work there, but yeah, they couldn't, go forward with the offer because of the pandemic and everything. And so, yeah, this crypto stuff was meant to be a side thing because I was applying for a bunch of jobs and doing interviews at the same time. But then, yeah, I think at some point I just realized, oh, well, instead of trying so hard to get a job, I actually have something that's doing pretty well. So why don't I just dive into it full time?
Yeah. And then for somebody who doesn't know what a DAO is, break it down for the layman.
Yeah, so a DAO stands for, DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And really what it means is just, it's a group of people who coordinate and make decisions together on the blockchain. And you can sort of, there's these governance tokens that are distributed to each of the members, and you can, how do they make decisions on the blockchain is they're using their governance tokens, and then they vote on decisions. So in the example of Pleasr DAO, it'd be like, if we're trying to decide whether or not we want to buy the Wu-Tang album, then we would put up a vote using this app called Snapshot. And then people who have, the governance tokens can go on and just, yeah, so you can just vote based on your tokens. Like something like that would just be like a simple yes or no. And then you can vote yes or no. And so that's kind of like a really simplified version of like what a DAO is. It's essentially just a group of people with aligned interests who are coordinating and making decisions together on the blockchain.
Now, you mentioned that Pleasr DAO was a first mover in terms of crowdfunding cash, crypto cash, in order to buy a piece of artwork, right? Can you get more into that and how significant this was for the industry?
Sure, because around that time when I was auctioning off this NFT, it wasn't, it wasn't new that we were seeing NFTs being sold for, a lot of money. But prior to, I guess, the one that I did that was purchased by Pplpleasr, it was mostly going to individual collectors. So like basically just like wealthy individuals, like being owned by one person. And then so Pplpleasr was kind of like the first time that a group of people had sort of come together and then pooled money together and then decided that they collectively wanted to own this one NFT. And then so, I mean, it sounds so straightforward now, but at the time it was really just not something that anybody was doing. And then so it was the first time that it happened. And I think, it struck a chord with so many people because it opened up the possibilities of not just individualism, but collective ownership, as well as just the fact that, people can do more when they band together as opposed to just like being one person. And so they just kind of became this unstoppable force that, just kept recruiting more people who were passionate about the same thing. And, I think in terms of me, I feel really grateful that one of my works would move so many people in a way that would actually inspire them to really, go through with it and actually band together.
Now, is Pplpleasr kind of like a secret society? I mean, what is it like to be a part of this contingent, and how many people are in it now?
I think there's over 70 something members. When I was auctioning off my piece, it was, I think, 20 something that came together to purchase the piece. So it's grown quite a bit now since then. And it's not really a secret society. It's really just a bunch of internet friends. And then we're all in the same chat group. And then we talk about things that we care about, from like art to culture to technology and obviously crypto. And, we share ideas and just kind of combine our brain powers to help build a cooler future.
Yeah. And then obviously you're such a huge player in the world of NFT creation. What is that space like? Do you feel that it is a diverse and eclectic group of artists who comprise the NFT ecosystem at the moment? Do you think it's dominated by a handful of people? Is it friendly to new artists? Do you need to be a brand name going into it to sell your work? Like, give me the down low on how things are right now.
I think, at least when I was getting my start, it was definitely not very diverse. I would say probably at least 90% of the blue chip NFT artists were predominantly male and white. And so maybe another reason why so many people thought my story was unique was because, when I did the sale at the time, immediately I was the first female on the platform foundation to even make a sale like that. And so I think people started realizing, okay, the space is actually not that diverse. And then so, ever since then, obviously, then Pplpleasr went on to buy, the Tor Project's NFT that was made by Xshells, who's also a woman artist. And then, we started sort of really advocating for more diversity in the space because I think there's as many female creators as there are males. And, it's not that the space is not inclusive. I think they just weren't exposed to the work of females. And I think that, it's really about just like being presented the opportunity to show your work to the people. And they'll, they respond well to it. It's not about who you are. I think there just needs to be that platform and voice for women to, speak up and show their work. And in terms of, like how the space is right now, I think it's definitely getting more inclusive. We're seeing like Guy Osiri representing World of Women NFTs, which really, sort of started this surge of female represented, profile picture projects. And obviously being an artist, I love that NFTs revolve so much around art right now, but really, I think the technology is so much more than that. And so hopefully, I think we're going to see more and more like that it's going to be less around art, and hopefully, the reports are going to revolve less around, how much money an NFT is selling for, and more about what kind of opportunities this technology could really open up for creators.
Oh, like what?
Well, for starters, like direct, sort of like royalty distribution. And so what that means is, when you're selling a creation of yours, every time that NFT gets resold, the original creator will always get a percentage of that. And obviously, this is being enabled by the blockchain. And, other things like just removing the middleman in general, like I think especially for digital creators, previously there wasn't really a way for us to directly monetize our work unless we were to make a digital creation and then print it out, and then sell it as a physical print. Or otherwise, really what we were doing was just putting our work on Instagram, getting paid in Instagram likes, and then hoping to land a commission job. And, whenever we do a commission, it's not our own sort of creative direction. We're doing it for other people. And then there's also a middleman who's taking, a cut and everything. And so it really just kind of like removes that process and gives the power back to the creators so that we have, first more creative control over our own work and also just direct monetization of our creations.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the consolidation of NFT players, and like who are the folks that are trying to corner this $25 billion NFT market?
I think everybody's trying to corner it right now. And, I think the space is such a unique one because for the first time we're seeing that just because you're somebody who has a large influence in, what we call pre-Web3. So, just like before the world of like crypto and blockchain and NFTs. So you could be a celebrity in the regular world, but that doesn't guarantee that when you come into this space and you start selling NFTs, it's going to be an immediate success. And the reason for that is because there's such a specific culture and this technology is very new. And so, the community is very sensitive to that. I think, obviously the people who are buying NFTs are mostly people who have cryptocurrency. And so there's a very specific set of values that they, sort of care about. And if you don't do your research before coming into the space and you're just seeing it as sort of a cash grab, that really doesn't rub people the right way. And so the community is really sensitive to that. And so I think, I would advise anybody who's trying to get into the space to really sort of look into the technology and what it means to be creating things on the blockchain and why it's important for things like the society and creators and how it empowers creators. And you'll probably do well.
I think of like Bored Ape Yachts Club was, was hugely popular and it's still popular. But is there like, what is the new version of that? Like, what is the most popular NFT collection of the moment?
I mean, there's so many that are on the rise. I think recently we saw the rise of this NFT collection called Azukis, probably due to, them having like a really cool art style and also just from a product standpoint, the team is really solid and they know what they're doing from the technical side as well. And the art is really cool. And I think, Artifact is really killing it as well. So they're a metaverse fashion company who recently got acquired by Nike. And so, they're expanding. So they dropped a profile picture collection called Clone X. And these Clone X's are actually, fully 3D avatars that, can be used later in the metaverse. And, they're all unique and have different sort of like hairstyles, clothes, whatever. And they're also sort of expanding that ecosystem now to having a sort of metaverse apartments and, fashion items and things like that. And what's really cool is that Nike is a part of all of this as well. And so that really sort of adds legitimacy to the project, right? And so, I personally, I have like Bored Apes, I have Clone X's. I don't have any Azukis, unfortunately. But I think sort of the trend now we're seeing is just any team that's able to execute well as it having, high quality and cool art are always good signs to be looking for when you're trying to pick a NFT project.
So you're earning in crypto. Are you transacting solely in crypto? Do you ever cash out to fiat rails?
I definitely need to cash out, every once in a while, especially if I need to. But yeah, basically, I would say, the majority of my savings are in crypto, and I try to keep it in crypto as much as possible. And I only cash out the bare minimum to spend on daily life, like eating or
rent.
Yeah, rent, things like that.
And then, do you mainly hold Ethereum or a mix of coins?
I have a mix of coins, but yeah, I think mostly I'm holding Ethereum.
Okay. What else is going on for you in crypto? So you're an NFT creator. Are there any other, I heard that you raised $2 million in less than 48 hours for a documentary you're making on Ethereum. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not making the documentary, but I do know the team very well. It was a collaboration, so it's being co-produced by Linda Xie and Carrie Weeprin, and then they reached out to me and we collaborated on that. And so what I did was I just created a series of NFTs that we were going to drop, sort of as a reward to anybody who was interested in either buying it or being part of producing the documentary. And then yeah, it was a huge success. This happened last summer. We raised over $2 million within 48 hours. And so, I think that really revolutionized the way that funding works for film as well. It sort of inspired a lot of people to also seek a similar path in funding their film projects instead of having to go the traditional route. And so what I'm actually building right now is I'm creating these tools and infrastructures that sort of empower, because I personally love making longer form content as well. And I feel like NFTs right now are sort of oversaturated with just either, JPEGs or very, very short, like 4-second animations that are just looping. But, what do you do when you want to make something that's a little bit longer, right? And then so I've been thinking a lot about how to tackle this space. And yeah, so currently I'm working on something that empowers people it's kind of a culmination of my experience from doing the Ethereum documentary crowdfund, and, obviously inspired by the way that PplpleasrDAO came together as well. But it's using the blockchain to sort of help fundraise for any film projects that you're doing, but sort of, like on an episodic scale so that it doesn't happen, like it basically, is happening in real time. And so based on the engagement, people can sort of back the project that you're working on. And so the hope is that it's going to help sort of decentralize Hollywood, because I think previously, either you're going to have to reach out to producers to get funding first, or you just bite the bullet and make the project, like make the short film, and then you send it out to film festivals and hope that somebody picks it up or it gets some kind of recognition. And so, yeah, I've been really sort of thinking about how to use the blockchain to change the way that film and longer form content creators can also receive, engagement and funding for their projects.
So beyond potentially building out longer form content in the form of NFTs, how else is this space going to evolve? Like, what can we expect to see in the next year, the next 2 years?
Well, I think, we're going to see, obviously, gaming is really big as well. I think it's one of the most, straightforward verticals that NFTs should go into and is expanding into. Obviously, making games takes time. So, it's not, like I said, it's not as fast as making a JPEG or a 4-second loop, right? So I think the reason why we're seeing so much of it around art right now is because it's probably the fastest turnaround. But definitely within the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a huge surge in NFTs in gaming. And I also, for example, I always tell people or joke about how, like, I think driver's licenses should be NFTs, so none of us ever have to go to a DMV again. And, just storing all of this information just makes so much more sense on the blockchain, because first, it's transparent, and second, you can't manipulate it, right? So, no more like fake IDs, like stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're going to see it basically expand into way more areas of things that we are familiar with in real life as of now, and into the digital realm.
And in terms of like NFTs in the world of gaming, the use case there would be you buy an NFT that gives you access to like one of the metaverse ecosystems, or are there other applications or other intersections between NFTs and gaming?
Well, essentially, what an NFT is just a token on the blockchain that represents ownership of something, right? So that's why, it can be either art or, your driver's license or, whatever you want it to be. And so you can apply the same thing to games. So either it could be, a ticket that provides access to a game, or it could be an asset within the game. So for example, if the game is creating, they have these like new weapons that you can use in the game, then they can be represented as NFTs. And then so if you own an NFT, then it can be directly linked to that game asset that you're sort of like looking for. And so, obviously gaming is just like a really, really broad topic, but yeah, there's so many different ways in which NFTs can play an important role there.
Now, you mentioned that your first big sale in March 2021, you donated all of the proceeds. We're talking about some other big fundraising numbers. Have you personally done a tally of everything that you earned in 2021? Because it seems like a lot, a lot of Ethereum.
I haven't done a tally of how much I earned, but I did a rough tally on how much I donated in total. And I've donated over, I think, $1.5 million in 2021 to charity and nonprofit organizations.
Did you cash it out to US dollars before you donated, or were you able to make a donation in Ether?
So I always work with Endowment, which is this decentralized sort of nonprofit, like off-ramping app, essentially. And then so what they do is they take the Ether that I give them, and then they handle the sort of either, like transferring it to fiat, or, if the organizations are open to taking crypto as a donation, then they will, donate it directly as crypto. So they handle sort of the conversion from ETH to fiat, but I just hand my ETH over to them.
What do your parents think of all of this?
My parents, I think they're starting to understand it a little bit more. My dad, went from super skeptical to now I think his profile picture on Facebook is a photo of a Bitcoin. So that's a good sign, I think. But, they've always been proud of me, even before all of my quote unquote success. So I'm just really lucky to have supportive parents.
Okay, so you were at a dinner and you gave a speech, and there were a lot of, wealthy art dealers there. And essentially you said, I don't need you guys. Can you tell me about that interaction?
That was a total sort of impromptu interaction and wasn't planned at all. And, I tried to sort of, that wasn't my intention. I think I was just sort of explaining how the NFT and blockchain industry is transforming the game for creators, essentially. So I think that was the message that was ultimately conveyed, hopefully as politely as possible. But I think it was just sort of this realization that, especially within the traditional art world, there's so much sort of like networking and ladder climbing that you have to do as an artist. I think, you have to network with the right people, the right collectors, or, the right galleries to have exhibit your space. And it just wasn't a very inclusive or kind of environment that really allowed opportunities for a lot of people, right? And then so, I think at that dinner, I was just kind of explaining blockchain to them and why sort of the combination of the way the internet spreads as well as, blockchain technology combined is just opening up a bunch of different doors for people that we don't need to do things the traditional way anymore.
Well, Emily, last thing I'm going to ask you then is there, well, one, is there anything else you wanted to say on this topic? But two, are there any big announcements coming down the pike? Because I hear there might be this weekend.
So I am announcing, I actually briefly touched on the topic during our interview today, but I will be announcing in sort of detail at ETHDenver, the conference tomorrow, for the first time, but what I've been working on, because I feel like, I've had such an eventful year last year, and it has led so many people to ask me, well, what are you working on next? And, I've kind of stayed quiet for all these months because I've just been focused on really trying to build something that I think is transformative. And I think I'm getting to the point now where I can sort of show it to the world. And so, I'm going to be announcing it at the conference tomorrow.